reclaim host.
Oh, is there? Because sometimes actually the host or the guide will take it back. So is that what they're doing?
They can take it back. Yeah, you can. And it's under, if you click on participants, where the list of participants come up on the view, then there's an option there to do that.
Okay. Yeah, because I've noticed like a few times I didn't have to give host back and it just like automatically went. But that makes sense if they were doing that.
Okay. Are you finished, or do you want me to still do, because I see it's...
Yeah, you're streaming live now and you are host again.
Okay.
So we're all good to go.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great class.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye. But the class will be starting on the hour as soon as the class arrives. For those that might be viewing the streaming on Facebook or on Get Set Up TV. So bear with me for a few minutes. Hey, hello, everyone. Hello, Yvonne.
Hi, Michael.
Ah, Devar. That's nice. Okay. Yeah, great. Priscilla, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Ah, that's great. That's great. Marva, how are you?
I'm doing good.
That's great.
Doing
Great.
good. Been on Zoom all day, though. This all-day Zoom gets to be much.
Well, I hope you're learning a lot, huh?
Well, yeah, well, I'm learning a lot. I had a class. I taught a class at 6:45.
Okay.
And what have you, but nevertheless,
Okay.
I was just trying to encourage one of my friends to get involved with your classes.
Okay.
Trying to refer them, trying to get them on to do something.
Oh, that's nice.
To help
So,
them
yeah, that's great. That's super. What sort of business are you in?
It's not. It was just a friend that was out. They were calling. We're sort of scattered all over the country, so they were just calling, and I was telling them about the Get Set Up classes.
Wondering if you were on Get Set, because I am. Get Set Up, because I am on those microgreens. Talk to you later. Bye.
Oh, she's talking to
somebody. No, she's talking to somebody else. Yeah. Nelda, you're talking to somebody else, not to me.
Yeah. I teach. This was a Bible class for kids that I was teaching tonight.
Okay. Oh, lovely, lovely. Mm-hmm. So Yvonne, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed. So Yvonne, what brings you to the microgreens class?
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yes.
Okay. Don't forget what curiosity did. So Shirley, hello. How are you? You're
Hi.
there. Hi, yes. Don't forget, you can just hold your space bar down in Zoom and that unmutes you, and then you let go your space bar and then you mute it again. So
Great.
So how are you, Shirley?
Thank you.
Good, good. And what brings you here, Shirley?
Probably saying curiosity. I've just started doing some indoor plants and I'm just curious about the microgreens.
Okay, fair enough. Naz, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How about you?
I'm really well. I'm really well. On this side of Australia, I'm
Oh
well.
my goodness.
I'm on the
Wonderful.
western side. So far away from you, 12 hours away.
Wow.
Different, I think. Yeah, yeah. So Naz, what brings you? What are you looking for?
Well, I used to do sprouts a million years ago. And then recently last year got a present where they had, I don't know, coconut noir. Is that how you say it? That they grew
Yeah,
sprouts
yeah.
in, which is like $17 a month, which I can't afford to do. So I want to find out what kind of medium you use in particular and how to go about this. I have a couple of trays ready to go. I mean,
Oh, good.
I have the trays. I don't have anything in them.
That's great to hear. I love growing my microgreens. I can see them while I'm sitting here. And yeah, I do all sorts of varieties just for fun, obviously for the nutritional value, and I enjoy doing it. But yeah, all sorts for just something different. Yeah. So Linda, hi. What brings you here?
Hi there. Well, I was in your class last week and you motivated me to get out my sprout stuff. So I did sprout some broccoli. I did sprout some broccoli. It's about, I would say it's a half an inch at the most, but they are doing well. And then I do have some wheat. I have a friend who gave me some wheat berries. So I soaked them last night and I'm starting to grow my wheat.
Okay.
And so I'm just joining the class to get a little refresher on it. My chia seeds have not done anything. I did plant the chia seeds, but you said they would take longer. So I'm hoping for the best.
Okay, good. No, yeah, I've had some failures over the last couple of weeks as well. So it's interesting. Sometimes things really work, and sometimes they don't. Yeah. So who else have Nelda? Hey, how are you? Okay, you came in earlier, Nelda.
Good.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, and what brings you to the class, Nelda?
I'm just curious about what this class is all about. I mean, I do have a garden. You know, I haven't started one yet, but we do have a garden every year, and not sure what this is, but it sounds interesting. So here I am.
Well, it's not to come to something you don't know what it is. There's mystery behind that.
Well, I know it's growing something inside the house, you know, some plants or something like that. So I don't know. I've never heard of them. So
I'm curious to see if it's the difference between hydroponics and this.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I do both outside gardening and hydroponics.
Yeah.
That's what my husband wants to do.
Yeah, that's nice. I'm so pleased that, and it's nice that you're sharing. So it's great. We should have a class where we just share the results of our microgreens.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That would be a good class. So yes. So who haven't I spoken to? I've lost track. Laurel, have I spoken to you? Okay. Okay. How are you, and why are you here?
Do I have audio?
Yes, you have an audience.
Oh, hi. Yeah, so I'm curious about.
Okay, hold on, Lori.
Whatever education you can offer me. Interesting.
Sorry, we missed you. Your mic went on and off. Okay, but that's fine. Okay, thank you. Antonetta, yes, you're back again. I remember having to pronounce your name correctly last time.
Yes, I told you I would be on. I'm starting my gardening.
Yes, I know you did. That's great. It's really super to see you all here. All right, I think it's time to get started, and I'm just going to share my screen so we can get moving. So, can you all see my microgreen screen?
Yes.
Nod your head,
Yes.
thumbs up. Remember, you've got at the bottom of your Zoom screen the place where you can click on and annotate with your hand. Not annotate. Oh, that's the wrong word. Yeah, react. You can react. The reaction button. You can react with your screen. Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm not always able to see my chat as we go along, especially when there, quite a number of people. But please feel free just to hit your space bar, which then unmute your mic and call my name, and we can ask questions as we go along. But I will also give time for questions. So unless you have to, I won't easily see the chat page. So also to remind people that if you can't see my cursor and because a picture's in the way, then you just take your hand and move the picture on your screen away. Okay, and then particularly if I'm trying to point out something and you can't see my cursor. Okay, so remember, you can move your pictures around, or you can change your view just to speaker, and then you only see the person who are speaking. Okay, so my name is Michael Plumstead, and I live in Perth, Western Australia. The time has just gone 11 a.m. In Australia, and I just love doing these classes and researching for the classes, and presenting them and all of you, by the way, can also do the same. If you've got a topic and you're really interested in and you enjoy presenting, you must just join, get set up and do a class, offer to do the class. It's a lot of fun. But what are microgreens? Okay. At least one of you have arrived and you've got no idea what microgreens are. Okay. Yeah, we won't mention any names. So microgreens are young vegetable greens, as you can see on your screen. The size varies and varies quite dramatically. I've just harvested some bean microgreens, and they just grow much taller than the normal microgreen, but somewhere around 3 inches, or in Australian terms, 5 centimeters, would be approximately what they would do. So that's what they are. They're somewhere between a sprout. A couple of you mentioned you do sprouts, but certainly one of you did. Somewhere between a sprout and a baby vegetable. Okay, it's a process. It's a natural process from sprouting to becoming a vegetable. It's in between those. Okay, so they're really baby plants because they have leaves, and you eat the leaves. You don't eat the roots of a microgreen like you do with a sprout. Okay, so the most pleasurable thing about knowing that you are eating microgreens is that they have a very concentrated nutrient variety of nutrients. Okay, and of course they're pretty. They come in all sorts of colors and textures and things like that. I mean, some of the flavors are absolutely a moment. And then there's also intense aroma around microgreens. So you get all sorts of pleasures with microgreens. Okay, and you get a whole variety of categories of microgreens. And I wouldn't get hung up at all in this sort of detail. I just want to cover it so that you get an idea, because if you're going to start out growing microgreens, like we've heard already, somebody attended a class before and they're now growing microgreens, and they're starting to sprout. So it's the fun of starting with one, and we'll come to that later on. But it's just good to know that there are different categories, as there are vegetables. Okay, there are different categories of microgreens. So, and there are terribly difficult category technical names. So I just give them my own name. So this first one here, where you've got cauliflower and broccoli and cabbage and watercress and so on, I call that my cabbage family. Okay. And so I've got a cabbage family category. And then when you've got sort of chicory and lettuce and so on, I call that my aster, A-S-T-E-R, aster family. Okay. And then I had a bit of trouble, I remember, coming up with a category name for your dill and fennel and celery. So I decided to call it the carrot family, because they all have the same characteristics. So the carrot family. Excuse me. The next one with garlic and onion and leek, I've called aluminum, and for obvious reasons, I guess. And then we get to the green leafy family on the second bottom down there, categories. And then you get the gourd, with your cucumbers and squash. So those are broadly sort of 6 categories that microgreens fall into. And I've identified them like in categories because each category has a peculiar speciality, okay, and we will get to those today. Now, one of you have been doing sprouts, and I did sprouts for many years. I occasionally do sprouts again, because I perhaps want to do alfalfa, and they're tiny little seeds, and they're just so much easier to sprout than to do but they will grow microgreens as well. But I don't often do the sprouting anymore. So the difference really between the two, as you know, the sprouts are grown in ventilation and are in a moist. You sort of soak them and on a regular basis. Whereas the microgreens you grow in soil or in coconut or in water, and there are a lot of different options, and I prefer the real McCoy. I grow my microgreens in organic soil, okay, because organic soil has the nutrients. You don't have to add nutrients like you do with water, and then you don't know quite what you're getting with that as well. So I grow mine in organic seed soil. In other words, it's been very finely sieved. And I don't know if you use that word. Is that how you pronounce it in America? But sieved, okay, sieved. Use a sieve like you would use in your kitchen for sieving, maybe taking the water away from your rice or something to that effect. So light is an issue. And so we need to be looking at the possibility of finding the right place. Sprouts don't require too much of a source, but microgreens definitely do. And I'm going to talk a little bit more during the class. I'm just talking about the differences now. And and sprouts only require water. Ventilation is also a concern, okay? And yeah, for both of them, in fact, for both sprouts, and they need air around them. Otherwise, they're going to start growing bacteria, and they'll start smelling. And so you need the ventilation. Sorry, did somebody want to ask a question, or was it just a noise in the background? All right. So you can use the same seeds as you see on your screen for both sprouts and microgreens. And you grow many seeds, many more seeds as microgreens than you do with sprouts. And we'll also be talking about that in the near future, in this class, that is. Okay. So why grow microgreens? Okay. Now, some of you, if I asked you that question, I'm sure you would come up with all sorts of ideas and thoughts behind it. And will one person give me one idea why you grow microgreens?
Nutrition.
Nutrition. Definitely one of the main reasons is nutrition. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else want to give me another one?
They taste good.
They taste brilliant, absolutely. And there's a wide variety of tastes, okay? The tastes are really quite diverse. And I'm going to talk about taste because that's also going to determine what seeds you grow, okay? So thanks for that. You don't need a garden to produce these healthy mini vegetables, okay? So if you've got a garden like some of you have, you can allow some to grow into full-grown vegetables, because I grow some vegetables in pots as well, because I keep my garden for flowers. I've got a tiny little garden that I'm looking at now while I'm talking to you through the window. It's beautiful, just small and quaint, and I enjoy just at my age, it's small enough for me to handle myself. And so it's worth it. So you don't need a garden for microgreens, and you have all your veggies ready to be picked right there in your home or on your balcony, okay? So, I mean, isn't that a great reason to grow microgreens? You just don't have to go to the shop and to go and buy your organic veggies from the shop. It's certainly, as you've said, it's a superfood, okay? It's full of nutrients. And those nutrients build your immune system, okay? And your immune system needs a really healthy microbiome. And one of the problems with microbiomes is if we don't have a healthy microbiome, we are not absorbing, let's say, the supplements we're taking, okay? And possibly even the nutrients in the vegetables, okay? But one of the things microgreen does is renew and refreshes that microbiome, and which then helps the immune system to get to full. And so that's a very important reason, particularly when you start getting to my age. You're not quite sure what's going on in your gut, okay? And certainly not in your microbiome in the gut, okay? So it's a very practical way of doing a lot of healthy things, and knowing that you're getting the diversity of nutrients that you really do need. We all need, keep on saying to my wife when I introduce something onto the table, don't forget diversity is our key. Okay. And so, okay. And then she eats it. So, yeah. What are the health benefits of microgreens? We've already mentioned that they've got concentration of nutrients, and they're higher in nutrients than the full-grown plant by multiple times more in this mini vegetable called microgreens. Okay, but they are also full and rich in all sources of vitamins, of minerals, of enzymes, of antioxidants, okay, chlorophyll, protein even, okay, protein, okay, you can get your protein from microgreens. So it provides us with absolutely amazing array of health benefits. You know, the one of the first health benefits is polyphenols. Now, this is really a good place to start, and you could make this your only reason, okay? Because that is like it's a type of a phytonutrient, okay? And so phytonutrients lower cholesterol, and they help with triglyceride symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis, Alzheimer's disease, cancer. They help with all these cardiovascular diseases, diabetes too, okay? But probably the most important thing of all, it builds the microbiome, which then builds the immune system. But it's certainly, you know, you can Google that, you can speak to your doctor about it, and polyphenols just has such an amazing array of possibilities, including antioxidant properties, okay? And, you know, we need to get antioxidants into our system because they are our protectors. They are our fighters in our body. And yeah, we can just do it by eating a variety of microgreens, okay? If by the end of this class, I haven't persuaded you to go out there and start growing microgreens, then I've failed in my class, okay? But I must have a class with a follow-up. I must really talk to get set up about that and see what we come up with. But very, very nutrient dense, and they really are so easy to grow because, you know, seeds they want to grow, okay? So they really want to, you know, just like, it's almost like, leave me alone and let me grow, okay? So that's the fun part of it. It doesn't need too much care. It just needs basic care, okay? It needs to be in darkness when it starts off, and it needs to be damp when it's in the darkness so that it can sprout, okay? But there are good reasons for that. And, you know, you can either put a board over it if you're growing it on top of the soil, or you plant it under the soil. So we'll come to that in a minute, okay? It's easy to grow. And yeah, you can start with, now let me just explain that I recommend some of these seeds, okay, for all the reasons that we're going to talk about in the class, okay, which is the aroma, which is the taste, which is the appearance, the color, okay, and for a variety of nutrients. So you could say, I've done a little bit of research that might start you off, but, you know, there are, I would say, I don't know, hundreds maybe of seeds that you could grow. So you can, you know, if you've got a particular health issue that you want to look at, you know, supporting your doctor with whatever they are recommending, then, you know, you can Google it, and you can go to Pinterest. There's a lot of information under microgreens on Pinterest, and a lot of information on Instagram. And you can also go to Uncle Google and ask him as well what they recommend. So, you know, when you look at the coriander, or I think you probably have a different name for it, cilantro perhaps. That's why I put the two names in there. We call it coriander, but it's also actually a different part of the same plant. So they're both right, but the coriander is what we call it here in Australia, and also the country that I come from, which is not actually Australia. So coriander is a good source of fiber. I'm just going to sort of give you just broadly. You don't have to write this down necessarily, because you know there's going to be too much information otherwise. But particularly coriander, it's got lots of manganese in it, iron, magnesium, and the leaves are rich in vitamin C as well, and vitamin K. Interestingly enough, you can't find vitamin K in a lot of places, and it's got its portion of protein as well. And it's got tiny amounts of other things like calcium and so on. But the broccoli microgreens have a larger quantity of what I've just mentioned, like magnesium. It's got more magnesium, more manganese, more copper, more zinc. Okay, all things we need for our health. Okay, and all this is interesting, and they're essential minerals that most people are deficient in. Okay, you will find here. So yeah, I strongly recommend that one of them be broccoli. Okay, but not necessarily. You can get the other ingredients elsewhere. So I'm not going to go through all, but let's just talk maybe about basil. And you know, basil is a good source of protein. If that was one of your priorities, perhaps because you are a vegetarian or a vegan, then definitely I would include basil, and I would then allow some of the basil microgreens to grow into plants and grow them in a pot, so that you also have the full-grown one and the micro. Because obviously the microgreens, you'll be harvesting them at some point in time, and yes, you might get a couple of them, but there'll be times when you actually don't have any basil microgreens because they're at different phases of growing. But if you have one in a pot, then of course then you've got your basil, and you can just eat the leaves of the basil, or cook with the leaves of the basil for that protein. It's also got the vitamin K and a lot of other vitamins. Even B6 is sitting in there. It's also got quite a lot of calcium. And yeah, I've got to not just go into all this detail, but it's interesting from a point of view of selection. Where do we start? You know, it's like, and I just want you to start with one, okay? And I'm just giving you some idea. So chai, you know, we all recognize chai as like a superfood, and well, so be it. All right, it's a superfood, but you would grow it differently. Again, I will mention that when we start talking in this class about growing. All right, and then we've got radish. Hey, I must stop. Let's carry on. They're all nutritious, all of them. Some just are more nutritious, and another reason besides the nutrition of the different seeds and which ones you choose, you can choose seeds for example, the crunch. Okay, so the crunch is interesting because you know, I am a crunch man. I enjoy my crunch. Okay, you know, even if I'm going to just have some tuna or something for a meal, I maybe cut up some carrot or something and have the crunch. And I like that. So microgreens, yeah, they're all different types of why you would choose it. Crunch is one reason. The pea shoots, okay. I know somebody said earlier that they're hoping that they're going to grow. They're taking a long time, and yes, they do take a long time. And I'm currently not growing them, even though I like them so much, and I should be, but I just haven't. I think it was because my supplier online, my organic supplier of seeds, didn't have. I think that's probably the reason, but. And so, by the way, you can find suppliers because you must have organic seed, okay? Nothing but organic seed, and you'll find it in different parts of the world. Certainly in North America, there are a lot of people that supply organic, but then they will supply you kits as well. And they want you to do it with coconut and not soil. They want you to do it in water and not soil. That's fine. They all work, okay? They all work, and you can. But I just go back to soil because I like working my hands with soil. And with organic soil that you're using, you know, your even your microbiome in your fingers and things like that, you know, enjoy the nutrition of a really good soil. Okay. We've got somebody asking a question, or was it background noise?
Searching for relatives, but they're probably looking at a fossil.
So I couldn't hear that. Sorry. Would you mind saying it again? Will somebody else tell me what was said?
I did not catch it.
Okay, then I wasn't the only one. I don't feel too bad. Okay, that's fine.
This is Michelle.
Thanks.
I have a question. You said that the pea microgreens taste like peas, but you also mentioned about sunflowers and bok choy and fava beans. Do those also carry the taste of the full-grown plant?
Different ones, there's a lot that don't, but generally as a statement, yes, okay. The pea tastes like a pea, okay. The sunflower has a nice crunch to it and a very pleasant taste, but it's a distinctive taste, okay. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, I've just, my last was yesterday, I think it was, we had some bean sprouts, okay. I don't know, they've just got a lovely flavor, but it's horses for courses. We all have our own taste buds and things that we prefer. And but yes, they generally taste like a moderated full-grown, perhaps, could be a way. But that's such a general statement because it does differ from microgreen to microgreen. But yes, it's peas are also sweet. Okay, so it's one of the few that are actually, it tastes like a pea. You know, when you take a pea out the pod and eat it, it is sweet. Okay, so yes, we've got microgreens for color as well, and certainly many chefs bring an element of theater using color when you go to a restaurant, and so you'll bring a strong flash of color like purple, okay, purple basil, okay, or red amaranth, or red cabbage, or kale. They've all got, or rainbow chard. They've all got their own sort of specific colors that look magnificent on a plate, and they obviously carry all the same. But generally, like red amaranth is very neutral in taste. You were talking about taste before that, and so yeah. So taste is like the third reason, in no particular order, that you would also grow a microgreens. Okay, and this is, I would strongly just say, trial and error. Okay. Because some microgreens are particularly punchy and strong, and if you're looking at herbs, herbs are also a good place to start with microgreens, because you can grow herbs as microgreens. Okay, but when you're looking at cilantro or basil or chives, they've got fennel, sorrel, they all got strong tastes, okay? And so, yeah, I don't know, really, taste is taste, and you've got to experiment. And it'll be fun experimenting, because you just buy small quantities to start with, and a small variety, and maybe you just start with one, and do you like it, don't you like it, okay? And you will know within a few weeks, depending which one you get, whether you do like it or don't like it, okay? So it's very much personal taste. I think that's what I'm trying to say. But now let's get down to how to grow microgreens, okay? As I said at the beginning, if you have some water and you have some nutritious organic potting soil and a little bit of light, like on a windowsill inside your house, you've got what it takes to start up microgreen mini garden. Okay. You know, if you are an impatient person by nature, then microgreens are for you, okay, because you get results quickly, okay. So there's no wait, you know, well, like you do with vegetables, you know, you wait, you know, some of the longest times you might have to wait before your harvest might be 3 weeks, but it could be a lot less than that. Okay, so you can certainly grow your microgreens in a tray and any type of container. Okay, and that could be, you know, you buy things from your supermarket, your anything you buy as far as fresh things are kind of meat and vegetables and other things. You get, they could come in a plastic container, and as long as you can put soil in it, you can use that container. Okay, you can grow it in recycled styrofoam boxes. Okay, all you got to do is put some holes in the bottom. Okay, you can just do that with a knife of some description, or a screwdriver, a sharp pointed screwdriver, but you just make the holes. Okay, and the idea is the holes are important, particularly if you're going to use soil as your medium, because the one thing you do not want to do with microgreens is overwater. Okay, you don't want it. And if you happen to overwater, then you want it to be able to drain out the bottom as quickly as possible. Okay, but we'll talk more about that at the moment. So you can buy trays. Okay, you know, just about any garden shop or supermarket will have microgreen trays, and but you can just use anything that is a container. You really can. And so you can grow microgreens indoors. You can grow them on a balcony. You can grow them anywhere on a well-lit area. And if you don't have a well-lit area, you can grow them down in your basement with a grow light. And those grow lights are in. So the grow light replaces the light, and it sometimes even has advantages. Okay. Because the grow light, or the type of ray that's in the grow light, and so that you can, or, you know, or if you in a time of the season of winter where you don't get any light for a long time, then a grow light comes in handy. Otherwise, just in a well-lit area, and then you can also grow them all the year round. And then I've got a picture here of how to harvest microgreens. Okay, you will see from the picture, or the image, shall we say, most microgreens, not all, but most. Now, remember, I have to talk in general terms because there's so many options, but most microgreens have these two bottom leaves that come out first. So they like bring out and say hello to the world and hello to the light, and they start absorbing and manufacturing all sorts of things from the light, okay, and from the air. So anyway, you cut them just above those two. You can cut the whole thing. You can cut it, but the idea is if you want more than one harvest, you cut it above the leaves. Okay, so you cut it above those two leaves, but some of them don't have those low leaves. Okay, then you won't get a second harvest. Okay, and if you don't want a second harvest, then just cut them just above the ground. Okay, don't eat the roots with microgreens. Okay, and just before you eat them, then wash them. Okay, don't wash them days before. Okay, so let's stop there. Are there any questions so far? Okay. I'm going to go through some slides now of showing you about and I just emphasize that you really need to get organic seed, okay, certified organic seed. At the very least, untreated seed, because all seed that gardeners buy and farmers are all treated, okay, and they treat it for a reason, okay, is to give a good harvest and make sure that they're not eaten up by insects and things like that, and then make sure they don't go rotten and so on, okay. But please just don't buy anything other than organic, and certainly not genetically modified seeds, okay. So yeah, here we look at a whole nother option, and I'm glad somebody mentioned it now at the beginning of the class. They were talking about, okay, I've just soaked some seeds, okay, so, you know, I tend also to soak my seeds, all right, but not everybody soaks the seeds, and you don't have to soak your seeds, okay. I do, because it just speeds up the process, okay, because if you don't soak them, you're going to plant them, and then you're going to wet them, and then they're going to get wet, and then they're going to go through, you know, a day or two longer before they start shooting and sprouting, and before you see them. So, but not all seeds can or should be soaked, okay. I think the very, very fine seeds, like alfalfa, very fine, you know, not necessary to, because they'll sprout quickly, and they just need to be in damp darkness, and they're fine. But certainly things like chai, don't soak chai, because chai then turns into like a jelly sort of seed, type of seed, and it's not very pleasant to handle. So, but otherwise, you know, by all means, soak your seeds. Then the next step, you can see step one in the image. Step one up top there, fill a container with holes in the bottom with fine, dry, organic seed soil. Now I say seed because seed soil just means that it's already been sieved. If you can't buy it, that's fine. You know, you can just buy organic soil and just sieve it yourself in your kitchen sieve, okay? Or you can buy a sieve if you're going to do microgreens seriously for years to come, which I hope you're going to. Okay, so that's step one. You just put the soil in there and you lightly pat it down. You know, that's it. You don't make it hard, just lightly pat it all down, make it smooth. Yeah. And then the step two, you can now sow your seeds. Sprinkle seed thinly all over the soil surface. Okay. Water finely to wet the seeds only, okay, not all the soil. I know I've emphasized this a few times in this class, is don't overwater. So you've stamped it down, you now spray the seeds over, and before you cover them up, you wet the seeds. I use a spray gun, okay? I've got one over here. Yeah. There we are. Oops. I just use, you probably not, you're going to see it all right. Okay, it's just a spray gun, and it's any domestic type of container, and you just spray them with you know, one of your containers. Then step three, if you're going to use another medium other than soil, then you can put a board on top of your containers. You can see in the image in step three, and you keep them covered. You keep them, you obviously they're damp now. You keep them covered until they start sprouting. Okay, and remember they'll be on top of the soil, on top of your whatever you're using. So you'll easily be able to see them sprouting. So as soon as the majority of them have sprouted, you can then take the board off. okay, and bring them into the light and into a ventilated space. So step 4, when most seeds have sprouted, place the container in a well-ventilated and partly sun area. Okay, I've spoken about that as well. So you don't have a problem there. Step 5, how often to water? Okay, you'll get a feel for this, all right, as you go along. And because again, certain microgreens, but if you just put your finger on the soil, if it's dry, water it. And if it's dry 3 times a day, water it 3 times a day, okay? Or spray it 3 times a day, you don't want to. So yes. But otherwise, if you want a general rule, it's once in the morning, once in the evening is fine. And generally speaking, twice would be more than enough. Remember, the seeds want to grow, okay, and they just need that bit of moisture. So, but you can give them too much. And remember to always harvest your microgreens above the soil. Remember, I showed you about a second crop, but this is just now forgetting the second crop. You just want to harvest your microgreens. Always harvest them above the soil. Okay. Very, very important that. So it's also important to harvest correctly, which I've just said now, above the soil. And if you're going to, you can see images there of different people doing harvesting, and you use a sharp scissors or you use a very sharp knife, because particularly sharp, particularly if you want to get a new growth, you want to get a second, then you would. So I think I've emphasized that. How to store your microgreens? First of all, I hope you never have to store your microgreens, because why do you want to store your microgreens when you've got your garden right next to you? You just take when you want it, okay? And so yes, they grow another a little bit taller. It doesn't make them more or less nutritious, okay? Rather not have to store them, okay? And but if you do have to store them, okay, then take 2 pieces of damp paper, put the microgreens between the 2 pieces of damp paper, and then put them into a Ziploc bag and seal them. You can put them in the fridge and they'll last a week, if not a bit longer, okay? They need that dampness. And don't wash them before storage, okay? Only wash them just prior to eating or the day you're going to eat them, okay? Because they will actually deteriorate in the fridge if you wash them first, okay? So make a habit of washing them either immediately before you eat or certainly that morning. But just keep your microgreens moist, and whether they're in the growing tray or in the fridge, yeah. All right, well, we're getting towards the end of the class, and we've got to decide how we're going to eat these fellows, okay? And so I've got some images here, and who doesn't love a pizza? You can put your microgreens on a pizza. You can even, before you make it, you can actually, cook it. And with the microgreens, that's fine too, okay? You'll get some of the flavor. And maybe even the flour is cauliflower you made your base out of, and not wheat flour. So there are all sorts of options, but you put the microgreens in. The microgreens give you whatever taste you want, because now you can decide what sort of taste you want, and they'll be very strong. Yes, you've got cheese on it, sure, okay, but believe me, the microgreens will make the pizza, okay? So you can experiment with that, and look on the left side here. Here you've got a drink, okay, a microgreen drink. just imagine the nutrients in that. Okay, it's absolutely, and wheatgrass and broccoli are particularly good for a drink. Okay, but really, you can see even burgers. You can garnish your any sort of plate with any type of food, with any type of microgreen. Sorry. Now, come on. Here we have clearly a pancake. Okay, and it's a savory pancake. Okay, you can see that, and they've added a bit of something sweet. What did I tell you was sweet? Okay, peas, right, absolutely right. So pea sprouts, but again, according to your taste buds, you can sprinkle anything on that. And this is a roasted acorn squash salad, okay, with microgreens mixed in abundance, sort of a quinoa salad. So it's really ideal for vegans, for example, who they're going to get masses of nutrients there. But it's just another way of eating. Oh, look at that image. Okay, now what's on the edge there? Okay, who wants to tell me what we've got there?
Don't know.
Besides strawberries, that is. Yeah.
Coral? I should know this, but I'm not sure.
Okay, you've got a strawberry chocolate tart, okay, with microgreens, okay, and which sweet microgreen goes with it? Peas, okay. Again, you're going to get used to the picture of pea sprouts, okay. And then, of course, on the right of that, you've got an ordinary spring salad, super fresh, super healthy. And it doesn't matter what you put into it, okay? So microgreens should really feature in all of your salads. Now, how picturesque is that? Just look at that rainbow salad. I can't think of another name for it. Okay, so colorful. It's hands down got to be one of the most attractive dishes that can be made by a chef. And so hands down, bless you, hands down. And it's the best colorful, okay? And it's sure to impress your guests, or the chef is going to impress you in a restaurant, and you'll be sorry to eat it, I'm sure. But it doesn't matter what sort of recipes you use and what sort of... and what do you got on the extreme right over here? Okay, we've got a soup. We've got a soup, a roasted broccoli microgreen soup, okay? For those, you coming out of winter now, we're just starting to go into it, okay? And it does get cold, as it does get hot here in Western Australia. We have the extremes here. I like the cold, my wife likes this hot, so yeah. It's good. So there's the soup for that. And then below the soup, we've got there a beef tea sandwich with sprouts on it, okay? Again, according to you, what you want to taste, you can just sprinkle them on there. And then on the extreme left here, a very bittersweet salad, okay? Obviously, it's a purple salad, but it's got all sorts of things in it, with even blood red oranges in it, okay? So a lot of unconventional, you can put anything in it. I don't know what one calls unconventional or not, but it is a great way to eat. So there are lots of ways. Okay. So, I mean, even in this image down here on this slide that you've got there, it's a wild rice microgreen salad. Okay. And oh, that's nutritious. My goodness me, because the wild rice brings its own nutrition as well. So yeah, it's good. So there we are. Please, just some final tips. I've told you about you can increase your regrowing. get more than one harvest out of one. You need a nice, airy, light place, and put holes in your tray for that overwatering. Okay, and use a seed starting mix. Okay, that will, remember, organic. Okay, do not use any fertilizer of any description. You're not going to improve the process. It's different when you're using water and so on. But skip the fertilizer. Okay, fertilizer, the chemicals you're trying to avoid. You want to eat organically when you're eating microgreens. Okay, and then never mist. Only mist spray. Don't go doing all the rest. Any questions now?
Yes, please. Should I assume that every time you start a new crop, you put the soil in your compost outside and have fresh soil?
Very good question. I'm glad you reminded me about that, because I do often mention it, but don't always remember. What you can and you must reuse your soil. Okay. What I do is I just have a bin with a lid, okay, in my garage, and I just tip the soil and the roots and everything in there. I make sure it's not hard, so I sort of break it all up so it's back into a sand consistency, and I just leave it in the bin, almost like
Compost.
Compost bin,
Compost, yeah.
like a compost bin. But compost, you'd also be throwing fresh things in. And if you have got the time and the soil, and you do have a compost bin, you can certainly include it in your compost bin. But just when it comes to reusing it, it's going to take much longer because of you're waiting for the vegetables to decompose or the leaves. So I just keep it in one separate bin. And I have very little throwaways as far as things that can go into the compost bin. We tend to eat, and but I guess that's what you do. You don't throw away when you get to my age. Any other questions?
If you don't have a board per se, can you cover it just with a piece of cardboard? Would that do it?
Yeah, then I would put them into a cupboard as well, a dark cupboard. Okay. So as long as they are in darkness, you must decide what's best, but they must be in darkness. Okay. And when I experimented last year, beginning of last year, I think I put them. I had a cupboard under my sink in my laundry, and that was really dark. Okay. And then another thing you can do to make them dark is if you've got identical trays, let's say you bought 2 or 3 trays, you can put them on top of each other. Okay. So they're pushing down on each other for the darkness as well, and then put them into a cupboard.
Okay.
Oh, good idea.
Okay.
And Michael,
Yes.
one of the salad with the colorful one, are those some edible flowers?
Yes. Oh, there are lots of edible flowers. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you name a few of them? Can you just name a few common edible flowers?
Like the watercress. Okay. But I certainly would have to go back, and I don't grow any for eating. But
okay, that's another show. That's another. You can
another,
do
another idea. Okay.
do another class.
Eat your flowers. I like it.
You can do another class on that because I remember once I was waiting for someone had an outdoor dinner, and
Yeah.
I was waiting, and I saw some flowers which I recognized they were edible. So I was sitting there waiting, and I thought, oh, I'll just put a few in my glass of wine. And then when people saw what I was doing, oh, what is she doing? Like they were looking at me like, like, is she that hungry that she's eating flowers now?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
I would recommend.
I think they were pansies.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I think they were
yeah.
pansies. Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, somebody else was asking.
Yes, I was trying to recommend nasturtiums that are beautiful. They're multicolored. They're lovely petals, and they're peppery in taste.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Violets or Johnny jump ups. Sometimes people candy those and use them in baking. So
right.
I see why they can also be used in salads.
Yeah, I love nasturtiums.
They're wonderful.
And you know, you eat the flowers and the leaves, and yeah, you can grow them outside. I've got one growing, but I've like growing it underneath the table, if you like, so it gets very little sunlight, direct sunlight, but they grow well anywhere because they grow wild in many countries, and so yeah.
They're beautiful.
Okay. Any
And
other questions?
I would like to ask a question as well, and that is because of the proliferation of GMOs, are you recommending that you do grow some plants from some of your microgreens and store your own seeds going forward in order to maintain a crop that's not going to be GMO'd, you know, invade?
Yeah, really good point. And you, from my own personal, I don't, I do allow some of my microgreens to grow to like I do with the basil, okay, because some of the you know, some of the plants or some of the microgreens won't be around when you particularly want it. You know, if you're looking for, you know, lavender, you're looking for rosemary to cook with, okay, it's best to get it to grow in a pot. And I've got them, I'm looking at them now in my pots actually, and I've got them outside in the sun, and they grow very well. So it's a good mix and match. Let some grow into pots so that you're never without some sort of, depending on your reason for doing it. But GMO is horrific, okay? And you just don't get me on that subject, because I've got all sorts of videos where I'm really anti that. But you know, I'm just scared that humans are going to become, you know, GMO, you know, humanoids just now. And so yeah, don't get me on that subject. Let's stay with microgreens. Ask me a question about microgreens.
That's another class again.
No, I think I've already been kicked off YouTube, so I'm not allowed on YouTube. But,
oh, really?
Yeah, I said something they didn't like, you know, and so. But it was only for a period of time to just teach the naughty boy some. Anyway,
I'll share one thing about GMOs that I'm an RN, and I've been a registered nurse for many decades. And at one point, I was seeing somebody who was a doctorate in physical therapy to help me. I had a head-on trauma with a 17.5-ton truck.
right.
I fell asleep after working the overnight shift and went head on a massive vehicle. Anyhow, this woman and I were in a conversation, and I said to her, you know, I don't understand. When I was in nursing school, you never heard about gluten intolerance. You know, there is a diagnosis for it, but it was genetic and it was very rare. I was a pediatric nurse, and that's when you would discover it was in small children. I had never seen it. And now there were all these adults who were suddenly gluten intolerant. And I asked her what she thought, and she was the first person to say to me, I think it's GMOs. And I agree. I mean, we're creating proteins that our bodies have not been exposed to. When you talk about the gut microbiome and what we need to be healthy and have a good immune function, now we're in our bodies with proteins that are not, we don't have the enzymes for, or, you know, we've just never been exposed to. So I think it's going to be more and more problematic in time. And that's why, yeah, I suggest everybody avoid them. And your solution of microgreens and growing some to crop size and saving seeds, I think is the best solution.
Thank you for that comment, and thank you for that. And I totally support what you say and agree with what you say. And It's and the other one was about seeds. I said I don't collect microgreen seeds or let them grow to full grown because it's only my wife and I, all right. And so it's I know it almost sounds just easier to but seeds do, like when you buy them online in a certain amount of quantity, and those seeds are going to last, possibly even 2 years or longer. If you store them properly. But I do allow my garden to go to seed, and then I take the flowers and the seeds and think, well, my garden's going to look different next, and then I just scatter them in different places. It's just fun. So my garden looks different every year because it's got now flowers in a different place that it didn't have. And yeah, I do collect seeds for my gardens and even my flowers in pots as well. And anyway, it's been great talking to you. Are there any more questions? I'm happy to be here. I love being here. So if you've got any more questions, then just ask away. But let's stay away from GMOs and YouTube banning you and so on. Okay.
How do you store your seeds?
Okay, I actually probably misled you when I say store them, because I harvest them, okay, and I just put them into a glass bottle into my cupboard, but then I use them again almost straight away when it's time to plant the seeds again, which might be 3 months' time. Then I then just take them out. So it's not long storage for. Oh, are you talking about microgreen storage?
Yes.
Okay, same way. Okay, I store them in airtight glass bottles, and I put them in my walk-in grocery cupboard, okay, which is pitch dark, okay, except when I open the door. And so that's where I store them, okay. I store them in a very dry place, no moisture, sealed. And in fact, I'm still using seed. About 3 years ago, my flax seed, that really stored, and sunflower seed store well. Yeah, that's also 3 years. There was a pumpkin was also my other one. I've had about 3 years now. I've been using the same seed. Okay, so
do you soak do you soak the flax seeds?
What about the flax seeds? Sorry?
Would you soak them or not?
Yes. Oh, yes. Any large seed I soak. Okay.
Oh.
So that's how I look at it. If it's like a flax seed or a sunflower seed or a pumpkin seed or something like that, then I soak them. Okay. It's only the very, very small ones that I tend not to. Okay. Like alfalfa, I don't. But the others, if they're big enough, well, then they can have the privilege of being soaked overnight or for 24 hours.
I had heard that we can't digest flaxseed. Is that a false?
Flaxseed, I'm not sure about flaxseed. If let's say you're cooking flaxseed or eating it in some form other than microgreens, you definitely, as a microgreen, you definitely can. Okay, and I wouldn't sprout and eat. I wouldn't eat sprouts with flaxseed either. Okay, because I think there will be difficulty. But as soon as it becomes a microgreen, okay, and your body, and if your body wasn't ready because your microbiome wasn't ready, the microgreens are going to start getting your body ready. Okay, so and remember that magic word, diversity. Stick with it. Okay, if you're going to experiment don't stick with the same microgreen year in and year out. I mean, day in and day out. Sorry, because they all have their own emphasis or concentration of different nutrients and enzymes. Okay. All right. We need to say goodbye. I would like to carry on, but I think we really must say goodbye. And I hope to see you soon again. And you know, I'd like to know how your microgreens are coming on. So keep watching month after month, and join the class again, and then you can share your experience, which will be beneficial to the people listening as well. Okay, and so please do that.
Maybe you can. Maybe you can share your garden and show us. Maybe you can share pictures of your garden and show us.
Yeah, I can. Not now. I can't. Okay, because I'm working behind or behind me is a virtual background. Okay, so if I take my camera off, your problem. But I'll take some pictures in due course. And in fact, I've got pictures. I mean, I'm forever taking pictures because I make stories. I've got a lot of videos. If you go onto I think you can still get onto my YouTube, but I'm now moving across to rumble.com. Because YouTube are going to allow me back. I think it's at the end of this week. I'm allowed back onto YouTube, but I think it's open still for other people to go to. I just couldn't post for a time, but so I'll probably start posting on YouTube again, and but I also post on Rumble. So I'm going to have a backup on rumble.com. So if YouTube, you know, call me a naughty boy again, then I'm going to go permanently to Rumble. But YouTube is the most popular on the planet as far as this timing. So you can go there and look for Michael Plumstead, and and you'll see some of my videos and things.
Oh, okay, all right.
But just put up with my sense of humor and my likes and dislikes. Okay. Well, thank you very much indeed. It's really super. Okay. So.